All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Joe Vertino. I'm a professional spiritual guide, author, musician, and Reiki master healer here on the internet, on my YouTube. I have my website, www.joevertino.org. My name down here without the doctor plus a .org. And I'm excited today. I've got Mr. Larry Hagner with his stuff called The Dad Edge. And I believe, sir, is this your second book, The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood?
No, it's my sixth, but that's
Sixth?
okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's all right. No worries.
Go ahead, sir.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you want to introduce yourself, you can do that now, or if whatever you want to, anything to start with.
Sure. I'm the founder of the Dad Edge. I am married to one amazing woman. I am the father of 4 boys, so 19, 17, 11, and 9. I founded the Dad Edge it was the Good Dad Project back in 2012, started the podcast back in 2015, been podcasting now for 10 years. And it's and just wrote the book Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. And it's divided up into 4 parts.
Lovely. Yeah. Is there any part that well, I was going to say, before we jump into your material and content, even though we're already only at minute and a half so far, so that's pretty quick, right? But I was going to ask, I guess, some personal stuff, anything that, some viewers could maybe learn a little bit more about you as an individual that you feel comfortable sharing.
Sure. I was raised in a pretty crazy environment. I didn't even really know my biological father until I was 30. And I ran into him by mistake when I was 30. So that's usually kind of a pretty unique way to grow up. The reason I'm doing this work is because it was probably about 12 years ago. I just really had no idea what I was doing. I was a father of 2 back then. And, I unfortunately spanked my son when he stepped out of line. I promised myself I'd never do that. I spanked him, and unfortunately he hit the ground when I spanked him. And that is something that I'd always promised myself I'd never do. And that was the first and last time that ever happened. And I decided to really start learning about what it means to be a good dad after that, because I was bound and determined to not create a childhood like I grew up in, which was really abusive. It was really chaotic. It was really nuts, and to say the least. So my goal was to basically disrupt, and be the pattern breaker, and to create a different future and experience for my own family. And unfortunately, I wasn't on the path that was creating that. And once I started learning and started podcasting and started doing this work, really, quite frankly, things started to turn around. And I'm not saying every day is sunshine and rainbows, but it's a heck of a lot better than what it used to be. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I'll guess I'll share something, with that. And, So the being a spiritual guide, I guess, would be the start of this. The 2 most important qualities of life that I guess I kind of share are self-honesty and humility. And in that kind of way, I got the vibe of Christian from you. I don't know if you are a Christian, but when I was watching your videos, I was kind of getting that kind of energy from you. And I'm a Zen Buddhist, and I consider myself a follower of Christ. But yeah, in that way, Jesus was all about fellowship, that openness and fellowship and community. And one of the points of that can be quite serious is, we talk about kind of confessing, not just to the priest, but to our friends, and in that kind of way, it's a very sacred, holy, but thing that is needed, for us to have a fullness of life. And, I don't see anything wrong with you, sharing about, I made this mistake in my past and I never want to do it again. I think that's a wonderful thing. And like I said, I'm proud, of where I am in my life, and I hope you're proud of where you are in your life. And I think this is wonderful for people. Do you want to go on with something, or do you want me to go to my talking points, or whatever you want to do?
You can just go on to your questions if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Okay. So there was on page 28, there was a section called the facts, and there was bullet points. And bullet number 4, I kind of made this note in context of what you wrote, sir. Purpose-driven living together is serious. And then my question I kind of came up with, is it completely marriage? In this kind of way, we understand that like where we both are is seeing in a more progressive way, about these things like marriage, being a father, and not everybody is in that place mentally, And so I guess that's where my question is coming from. It's like purpose-driven living together, would be marriage, and we're all in the process of growing, and healing and improving. But our species is obviously still getting married and producing kids and everything. And then you have stuff like this, that makes life make a lot of sense. So basically, I guess this point is, what can you share about people's, maybe even a general perspective on marriage, and where it could improve or where it could go, or things that it could shed, or what's the things that have to stick around?
What page did you say this was?
Oh, that was on page 28, sir.
Doesn't say anything
And
like that.
there's a section that's called the facts, and bullet number 4. There was 4, I believe, 4 bullet points you had, separate from your prose writing with paragraphs and everything. And I don't have it written.
What book do you have in front of you?
Oh, it was The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
That's what I have in front of me. It has nothing about that on page 28.
Oh, maybe it's the ebook version compared to the physical book version. It could be the pages it could be that. It was earlier in the book. But yeah, I mean, if you just want to share, maybe later on we could get to the exact page, but if you just want to share for now, I mean, about that.
So can you ask your question again? Sorry, I was trying to go to the page that you were talking about, and I was trying to figure out what it is you were talking about so I could answer it specifically, but it's fine. I mean, it's the ebook and this book probably isn't the same. So if you could repeat the question, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm basically asking, in context of marriage, collectively speaking, because marriage obviously isn't going away. And I was going to ask you to share, I guess the right word would be like bullet points. What would be the thing that has to stick around in marriage? What are the things that we can get rid of? Shed, I guess, is a lighter word. What are the things that we can pull into it, that we can bring into it, that maybe aren't there for people? And then even, kind of whatever you want to share, even if you have some kind of like, direct words you feel people need to hear about it. Generally just about marriage, but in the position of improvement, I guess, would be.
So I think in order to have a successful marriage, I mean, I think this answer might help your audience just a little bit more. It'd probably just be better if I just talk about like, the 3 basic needs of a woman and the 3 basic needs of a man.
Perfect.
As it relates to marriage, because I think those are probably more important than the things you need to bring in, the things you need to shed, the things you need to do with or without, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not meeting these 3 needs for each other, the chances and the likelihood of the marriage probably feeling fulfilling and feeling good and feeling like you're in a place of joy and fulfillment probably isn't happening unless these 3 needs are being met. So she needs from you as a man to feel seen, to feel heard, and feel safe. That's what she needs from you. So seen, heard, and safe. And I'll come back and I'll explain those. And then if you're a man, if what you need in the marriage is to feel respected, appreciated, and you need physical affection. Those are the 3 needs of a man. So the woman. So let's talk about this for a second. So what usually happens in relationships is we try to fulfill our own needs by fulfilling those needs for the other person. So like a man wants to feel appreciated. He wants to feel respected. He wants physical affection. How do you think he loves his wife? Right? He's complimenting her. He respects her, and he wants to put his hands all over her. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how he feels love. So that's how he shows love. Right? And the woman is usually like, wait a second, like this is great and all, but this isn't really moving the needle for me. I'm not really, so a woman needs to feel connected to a man. She needs to feel seen. So what does that look like? So a woman, especially in a home where, there's kids, there's a dad, there's her. A woman sometimes usually feels like the softest voice in the home. A woman often feels like she's doing a lot, but not a lot is actually getting noticed of what she's doing. Like there's a lot of moving parts. There's something about, I think, being and let's just use the example of a stay-at-home mom right now. It's just a stay-at-home mom. For a stay-at-home mom, they're doing like 1,000 things a day, right? And most of what they do goes under the radar. No one even really notices it. They just notice things are done or things are whatever. There's food on the table. There's things there's laundry that's done. There's things that are done. Nothing's
Yeah.
ever said about it. So for the family, for the man or for the kids to say, "Hey, thank you so much for going to the grocery store today. You're always out looking for everybody else's favorite food. So thank you for always going grocery shopping. Thank you so much for, the laundry that you did today. Like really appreciate you doing
Right.
it, right?"
Yeah.
Just these simple things, these gestures of being seen is incredibly uplifting to a woman. And I'm not talking about just the things that she does, but the person that she is. If you can always like compliment her in some way, shape, or form, and also anchor it to a characteristic trait. It's like, for instance, like, "Hey, like I saw that Colton was really pushing your buttons the other day, and you were just absolutely amazing at staying patient, at staying calm. I don't know how you did it, but man, you just stayed so calm and patient. That was amazing what you did." So even just things like that, just in her character and the things you see, those things go a long way. That's being seen. Being heard is a lot of men, what they want to do during conversation is we're listening for words, right? And we're also listening for opportunities to help. We always want to help. Like a dude wants to help. He wants to be the savior. He wants to be the guy with the advice. He wants to be the guy to fix the problem, that kind of thing. But quite frankly, like women, they want those things, but really what they want is they want connection. They want a man to hear them, to understand most importantly, what they're feeling. Like if you can understand the
Yeah.
power of emotionally validating your wife, that makes her feel insanely heard, right? If you could say, "Oh, Matt, oh my gosh, that sounds really frustrating." Like, I don't know who wouldn't be frustrated in your situation. Like, tell me more about it. What's going on? And you just listen. That goes so much further than to be like, "You know what? You should do this and you should do that. And you should do this and you should do that." Like giving the
Right.
advice.
Right. Absolutely, sir. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to cut you short, but I'll at least say something real quick right there. Yeah, I mean, even in this way, the other podcasts I have three that are just on relationships, with me and this lovely lady named Miss Lenka Grainer, and we're both in the field of medicine and charismatic people, and have a pretty kind of out facing personality, and we do these podcasts on relationships, which can be a very, very serious thing, ultimately maybe even the most serious topic. And we do three different podcasts. The first one was sexuality and relationships, and then wisdom on relationships, and then your healing process and relationships. And I'll make the same point that I made about those podcasts with you, is that it's a grace. Again, maybe we could say the most serious thing in it for eternity, grace. It's a grace for people to be able to be direct, especially about things that need the directness, because sometimes that can be such a difficult area to get to find in yourself. And with some people, there's a grace where I feel like with you don't shy away from it, and it's a need, in us, in our species, to hear that, to revel in the truth. But yeah, so thank you so much. And as a Reiki master, there's something called the 5 Reiki principles. And the fourth one is just for today, I'll be grateful. So that's something that, of course, the word principle is like a value that you live by, that's good inherently. And in relationships, one of those struggles is finding that reliability, that goodness, that security, that foundation, right? So that's certainly a point of improvement for people, where we are with that. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to say more about that, if not, I can go on, or you can go on if you have something that's coming up that you want to talk about in particular, sir.
No, that's okay.
Well, anyways, yes. Let's see. Okay. So, and like I said, or we've unfortunately found out earlier, the version I got was the ebook. So I don't know if the pages. Oh, I have the chapter in this one. So this one you might be able to find right away. The next one is chapter 7, 4 elements of an extraordinary marriage. And then I listed these 4 elements, and then I made a little note here. But yeah, I mean, this is certainly like, obviously very, very important stuff. And I even want to say, urgent. There's an urgency to it. People moving forward in their lives. And but yeah. So anyway, so this one is so self-care, partnership, friendship, and lovers is the last one. So yeah, for that, I mean, and we could go, into depth, or if you want to focus on something specifically. And I just have one point in there, but I was going to say if there's anything that you want or can say from specifically about that part, even if it's not, a whole bunch, a lot of stuff, but I would just love to hear your voice in context of those 4 elements, even if it's just a little snippet of something that's resonating with you.
Sure. So self-care, so I'll talk about each one. Self-care is you have to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of the other person. You have to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of your kids. It's just, and what a lot of people will do, especially men, is we'll kind of throw ourselves on the sacrificial sword of we need to do everything for everybody else. And we don't take care of ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves physically. We don't take care of ourselves emotionally. We don't take care of ourselves mentally. So our mental health is sometimes compromised. Our emotional health is sometimes compromised. Our physical health, we're not taking care of that as well as we probably should be. So you have to have self-care. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So self-care is really, really important. And quite frankly, a lot of us miss the mark on that one. The partnership aspect, I'll get back to in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about friends. So friends is another one. Friends is really, really important. Friendship is something, in my opinion, I think that we get away from in marriage. We may or may not do self-care. We definitely do partnership, because I'll explain what that is all about. That's where people kind of get stuck in the roommate trap. But friendship is something that I think we could probably be better at as a married couple. I mean, think of it, do you like to spend time with your wife or husband? Do you have things in common? Do you have things that you like to do together? Is there common ground, right, with friendship? Because I mean, think about it, like this person, yes, she's your wife, right? Yes, you're intimate, but at the same time, like this should also probably be one of your best friends, right? You're one of your ride or dies, at least, right? I mean, you guys are raising kids together, you're married,
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah.
friendship is really, really important. The intimacy, the lovers, right? This is the thing that separates us from being roommates and being friends into being man and wife, right? It's the physical part of our relationship. It's the thing that we get to enjoy that nobody else gets to, right? It's also the thing that, if not done right, we sort of like jump over friendship, and we even jump over partnership, and we try to get right to the intimacy, and we're scratching our heads of like, why does this not work? But that's the physical part. And then the partnership aspect, this is something that can be a little sinister in our relationship. It could be something that can be detrimental in our relationship. But the partnership thing this is the not so sexy area. This is where we talk about the chores, the roles, the bills, the finances, the kids' activities, the school, homework, sporting events, the planning, what we're going to be doing and how, right? All these different things, all these different moving parts. This is the area where it's more managerial. So we're managing the kids, we're managing the household, we're managing the chores, we're managing the workload, we're managing everything. And this is where a lot of couples really get stuck. We call it the partnership loop. The partnership loop is where you kind of get stuck in the roommate syndrome, and we're co-parenting together, and we're somewhat friends, and we're just sort of stuck in this wash, rinse, repeat, and we never really get out of it. So the way to get out of that, though, is to build more intimacy, to build more connection. The way to do that is you can't be mom and dad all the time. You have to be a married couple first, in my opinion. That's got to be the priority. You've got to get back to why you're a couple, why you're together, why you love each other, and constantly cultivating that romantic relationship, right? That courting, that deep love that you have for each other, and not get so distracted with all the busyness and the partnership stuff and the chores and the roles and the bills and all this other stuff. So you've got to make sure, like, the partnership aspect of this is critical. It's one of the most important things, but it's also the pitfall where a lot of people get stuck in this loop and they just quite frankly never get out of it. And then like years go by and they're like, man, I feel like we're roommates. Like this is where people like look over at each other and be like, I don't really know if I love you anymore. Like, cause they stay in this loop for too long.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, having that, I already mentioned in context, and I do have a little point after about this exact thing. And I'm so, grateful to use that word again, of this and being part of this and technically all life everywhere, but certainly, being able to contribute, is something I'm so grateful for. And, yeah. As someone who's, are you married? I believe you said, yeah, you are, and you have children.
Yes.
Yes. I was going to say, yeah, as someone who is not married yet, who doesn't have kids, this is lovely, for me to hear, because I'm not in that world yet, and it's just a nice experience for me to be able to have. And certainly, obviously, not just like, even though my shirt makes me look like I'm on vacation laying back, but, certainly it's my job and everything, as a spiritual guide. So I'm just grateful for it. This point that I have here is basically in context of this, this chapter 7 here. As a spiritual guide, basically that my little spin on this, and I'm sure that you'll appreciate this, is basically on an individual level. People that are, obviously we could say couples married, keeping or obtaining even and maintaining this proper, we could say adequate, perspective, but only in context of themselves as an individual. Because as a spiritual teacher, I work one-on-one with people. It's all personal and confidential, but yet I can, so to speak, in that way work in context of relationships. But yeah, I mean, in that way that it's kind of like, I think of like the word refinement. It's kind of like when I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with like crystals and precious stones. In the New Age world, we're all about that, and stuff like that. And this kind of idea that comparing, using an analogy, that the person is like a precious stone, a crystal, and that there's a refinement happening as they age. And that basically, in order for that refinement to occur properly, throughout the rest of their life, this kind of perspective is needed. So it's basically that because people can, have all kinds of different relationships, and marriage being the kind of foundational, most serious, so to speak, one, to say that boldly, but in that kind of way that it would be amiss for me to say, oh, okay, well, that's so serious and that's so great, and then not allow my truth to help people. Just like with you have to let that come out, and kind of swim. So basically, that's that. Supporting your work, sir. That, I guess, my sincere prayer is that people can stay grounded and founded. I like using that, kind of coined that term, grounded and founded, as an individual, alone, so to speak, in their own life, in their own skin, which is never possible that it can be a bad thing ever, right? And it actually ends up kind of pointing out the stuff that needs improvement or even like removal, serious consideration in your life, technically in any direction. But yeah, any psychologist would basically agree with that one. But it's something that needs to be said, needs to be heard. There's no one outside of, the group of life. And yeah, so just kind of shedding a little extra light in context of spiritual guidance with what you started, with your book and everything. So wonderful. Is there anything on your mind that you want to talk about? If not, I can continue. I have a few more notes on here.
Sure, go for it. Go ahead.
Cool. Okay, so this one is in chapter 13. Let me see. And the title of that chapter, Never Be Afraid to Ask for What You Want, Need, or Desire. Seeing marriage. Okay, and then I had a little note there. Yeah, let me see here. Seeing marriage parts. Okay, so I added a little note on there, and I mean, that's just that title of the chapter, is a very big, kind of important point. It kind of reminds me of the Bible, the way that kind of the words fit together. It's kind of like a instructional, kind of has a certain kind of force, a certain kind of energy to it. Never be afraid, to ask for what you want, need, or desire. And certainly that religion aside, holiness, something that's good, that stays good, is what we want as marriages anyways, you know and I feel that that's basically what you're doing with your work, which is why we're talking, I suppose. But yeah, this is absolutely lovely. Is there anything that you want to share just on that chapter? I do have a little bit of notes on there, or like just with the early one, if there's anything kind of.
I'm sorry, is there a question?
Yeah, do you want me to? Yeah, I mean, I can say, let me form it into a question. Never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. A question on that. Oh, timed out. Well, hopefully he comes back in. We're having a technical difficulty. We are at 26 minutes and 26 seconds. In New Age, that's a double number. That's a numerology thing. Hope you're enjoying this so far, and hope he gets to come back in. If not, well, we'll have a shorter podcast for half an hour. Let me see. Hopefully he can come back in here and re-click the link. What's a good question on that one? Never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. I don't know. What would that be? Yeah. Hopefully this person gets to come back in here. My friend, Mr. Larry Hagner, fellow author. Shanti. Well, anyways, I will share some on my own here. Hopefully he gets to come back in. Yeah. Never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. A big, really, really big, using the word prayer again, I guess, would be, because this has to do with another person, right? It's not just between yourself and the wall or yourself and God, right? But because it's the word ask, the word ask. So that's can be a very scary, I guess, is a kind of childish word, not to sound offensive, but, in that kind of way, it can be very intimidating, to ask another, individual, for something that's completely your own need, desire, or yeah, in that kind of way. And in that way, that because there's nothing in the way, if you're a married couple, or you're in a romantic relationship, you could say there's nothing in the way. I think of like someone who works, in carpentry, and their wife is a masseuse. And in this kind of way, that sometimes it seems like, there would be a plank of wood, like when I'm doing my work, honey, in between us. But it's not there, because God's will, so to speak, is intimacy, is that aloneness together, and this chapter, in that way, this title, at least we could say the topic is all about that, never be afraid. And there's the clarity on it. Never be afraid. Because some people would go, is this okay? Right? And all these different degrees and shades of the spectrum. How okay is it? Is it okay now? Is it not okay then? Right? And all these different things. And the most important point is knowing the first three words of Mr. Larry Hagner, who we will miss if he doesn't get to come back in here. Chapter 13 in his lovely book, I'm sure, because I didn't get to read every single word, but it's lovely. I did read some. The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. Never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. Right? So there's the clarity on it. And then you can actually allow that to kind of, maybe we could say, have a ripple out. So what this means is the ripple out would be, okay, so I'm just with my husband, says Susan, 50-year-old Susan. And I'm just with my husband. And in this way that, okay, I'm starting this, I'm taking this advice, I'm actually achieving it in my life now with my husband, right? So that's the start of it. So the start of this perspective that we're on right now, never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. So you start that with your husband. It may have taken 50 years, but nonetheless, it's the best thing of all time that you're starting. So you, Susan, Miss Susan, if you're watching, so to speak, starts, right? And then so it's just with Jeff, right? Let's give him a better name. It's just with Bryson. That's a cool name. Little American, but anyways. Tanaka. How about a Japanese name? So anyways, so this starts, and this asking for what I want, need, or desire, and it starts and it starts and it's there and it's kind of growing. You become acclimatized to it. It's kind of like your new habitat of appropriateness, right? Oh, the humidity can go all the way down here, and the temperature can not shift between this and this, outside of this range, and I have the water over here, right? And the bath over there. So it's that more appropriate habitat, and so in that kind of way, then this billowing out or this ripple effect can happen. Oh, wait, this doesn't say just with our marriage partners. Never be afraid to ask for what you want, need, or desire. That's the end of the sentence. So that means that all of these possible relationships, right, with human beings, not with dogs or mice, but with human beings, right, that we are allowed to grow. That's what growth is. That ripple effect. An example of with Susan and her husband, hopefully Tanaka, because the name's great. So anyway, so that ripple happens. So it's your choice that's there, right? And it starts. And then basically as the relationships go, as the relationships go on and your life goes on, and even if your marriage with your husband doesn't fall apart, the other people that you're in relationship with is still real, is still present. And then well, this is appropriate now. I know this. Asking for what I need, want, or desire is appropriate. So I just know that. So that means if there's other people that are around me, well, it's just what is. It's just what is. It's appropriate. And it doesn't, there's no other possible way, right? So then you start to have the ripple effect. But you understand that whole thing is just you. So that the droplet and the pond and the ripple is all you. It's all you. It's all your life. It's just what it is. And anyways, I'm hoping that Mr. Larry Hagner will come back. But anyways, he was a lovely man. We only got a half an hour. Let me see. Is he able to come back in here? Let me check my email real quick. If not, we'll see. We might just have to wrap up. At least we did something together. Well, thank you for at least tuning in, everybody. Let me see. La da dee da. Darn. Well, there are some more points in here. Let me see what else I had. There was one more. Oh, okay. Yes. In context of, so the title of Mr. Larry Hagner's book is The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. So, I guess I'll just relax and do my vape. I'm not in front of anybody now. But yeah, no. So, I have an absolutely wonderfully pure, remarkable relationship with children. And it's something that is never going away, so to speak. And it became very obvious to me, earlier in my life. And I can't speak any further on that. I'm not other people and their perspective. But yeah, no, it's very, very clear to me that I have a very pure, completely correct relationship with children. Dr. Joe does. And so I just wanted to talk about this in context. And I pray you don't feel overwhelmed. This has been a lot, even though it's only been 35 minutes. Who knows? Are you in college? Are you doing this after a day of 5 different classes and different subjects, and you had to walk your skinny or not so skinny butt from one class to another? Are you in the middle of a divorce? Are you someone who, the ultimately probably worst would be if someone who lost their child? Any of those people could be watching this. And I'm glad that you found me. But yeah, or are you doing great? So anyways, so I was going to talk about this here in context of the topic of relationships in all seriousness, marriage, fatherhood. So, well, it's the father's fault, so to speak, children, right? Yes. So appreciating children, allowing the single person you are to be on the same planet with kids, always will have you outnumbered, meaning that the children are always going to have you outnumbered, right? And personal growth is not halted by children. Let's understand that together. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm bringing you into my perspective, which is already pure, right? With me and children. So that's what's going on right now. So I hope you feel the gravitas of that, says professional author, Dr. Bertino. Excuse me. But yes, so what is that? What is that? I have this beautiful, another point about being an author. I have this beautiful green pen, and it's the color of Archangel Raphael, the medicine of God, this beautiful emerald green. So in this way, I guess a little kind of preface before we go into this, and we'll basically, unfortunately, wrap up. Like I said, if Mr. Larry Hagner gets to come back in, that would be great. If not, well, we're going to finish strong, so to speak. So my understanding first is faith, trust, relief, in the sense that, oh, it's just a green light, right? I'm trying to put you into the place of succumbing, surrendering, taking off your tight boots. And there's nothing wrong with your boots or what you were doing today with them, right? Yeah, that. Relax. Yes, I accept that I'm alive, says humanity. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we have children. And as Dr. Joe said, well, no matter what, we're outnumbered by them, right? There's a multitude of children, and there's one me as an adult, and I'm growing up. I used to be one. I might see a child tomorrow. Might not. So in this way, if there's anything in us that is distressed about that fact, that there's so many more children than there is me, that one me. So that's what I want to show us, because it's so inappropriate, isn't it? Why would there be any insecurity? Why would there be any disaster? Why would there be any disruption in our field, our energy field, which we are never separate from? Why at all? And that's how you understand that all you're doing is you're purifying yourself right now. All you're doing is you're purifying yourself right now. And what a cool shirt to stare at, right? And then basically, so then that's it. So in that way, personal growth is something that we're using our mind and we're using our experience to have happen. So in this way, that so the personal growth, we're using the truth, we're using reality to manifest it, right? We're using that. So in that way, so it's okay generally, right? Like the introduction, it's okay. And then allowing that okayness to kind of be with us, you know? And then from there, putting our mind into the place of it's okay for me to improve. And it's okay for me to be married, to be, and also improve myself as an individual, obviously. Yeah, it's okay. And then basically, I guess in that way, it's you can now start to sense into, as a spiritual guide, I'll say, the what we call letting go. So the nature of letting go is manifested properly in a happy way through what I am doing right now, which is self growth, purification with our consciousness, with our free will, right? So then we're basically at this place where we are uh, choosing to grow, right? But if we understand that in this kind of way, um, I guess another cool point about this is that letting go, right, is something that's real, that's valid, and that we don't have to or do involve anything in it. So in that kind of way, you could see how none of your things are under fire. None of your things are being threatened. None of your things are being considered for change. So if you're married, it has nothing to do with any of your kids or your wife or their behavior or their preferences at all. But you can just be here for a little bit and allow this experience to be more real rather than less real, we could say, right? Allowing this experience that you're sitting down for to that what I'm pointing at is ultimately trust, right? That you're trusting, that you're allowing that to win, the trust, right? And like I said, that's not taking or changing any possible little thing. All you're doing is you're just sitting, you're just being here. And that's called letting go, right? So that's that. Anyways, so I hope you enjoy this. We're at 43 minutes. I don't want to make it too much longer. Unfortunately, Mr. Larry Hagner did get, it looks like he got ousted for good under technical difficulties. But thank you for him and for his whole team of people and all of his books and myself and my team of people and my books and everything like that. Please do give my website a look-see. I will put it here in the comments, www.joevertino.org. And in the description is also his name as Larry Hagner, and he has 6 books, I think he said. 6, there's a 6. Already done, so that's wonderful. And yeah, we're both up there in numbers for books. So anyways, I pray for him and for you and for people that are like him, in that way, that have found that kind of place in themselves, which I guess you call dharma. Dharma is a Buddhist term, one of the 3 jewels/refuges. That means one's purpose for their lifetime. And I pray that they can be healthy all along the way, to their to the end of their life. Angel blessings. Amen. Well, let me see. Let's see what else could be brought up. I typically, like I said, do an hour, so there's 15 minutes more. Second book. Yeah. Yeah, I guess in that way that yeah, marriage is such a big, a big thing. And I guess working towards understanding that, letting us kind of be, in that kind of reverence for it, is a good thing, that it's big, that some successfully married couples, would say it's bigger than us, right? And that, that there's a growth in that, you know because it's like the opposite of when people say, oh, he got a big head, right? Meaning that kind of way of they speaking, of that his head became, it's pointing out like an egoic imbalance, and that's the opposite of that, right? These older people in successful marriages who'd say, the marriage, you start to realize that it's bigger than me, just me, that you're part of something in your life that is bigger than you. And in that way, that perspective is for everybody. That you're part of something bigger that we could call life. That you're part of that. And that, you're included, and then in context of this video, at least, I can assert for a fact that I absolutely care about you, and how wonderful it is to be part of life. But yeah, so in that kind of way that, let me see, where are we? Understanding that growth is something that is inevitable, that wants to happen, and that we can simply acknowledge that truth and then leave it alone, like a hot fire or something, and just leave it there. And then, so in that kind of way that, yeah, community is such a beautiful thing. Relationships are such a beautiful, unavoidable thing. Children are absolutely wonderful. And in that way that if you see it connecting another point of spirituality, the name of this podcast is Spiritual Ed. Connecting this point, is that sometimes what happens in spirituality contemporarily, I get question mark, would be, people get to this place where there can be a kind of cloud-like mind state about love, right? Love, right? And it's kind of a little hippie-ish. Love, right? This kind of thing like this. And then basically, so what the thing is what I'm saying with this is, relationships are almost the opposite energy of that, we can say, because it's like, has to be, there's a must be any energy in it, right? And you could say for survival purposes, so to speak, in this way, right? Ultimately, in the sense of life keeping going. And then so you can see how those two, but that doesn't, and that, so my point of this is basically that, there's nothing wrong with the combination, so to speak, in the sense that relationships, as simple as they are, or how profound and or serious they can be, all of that is allowed to be pervaded with love, right? And that, is, yeah, amen. So anyways, we're almost at an hour. And I pray that this is lifting your spirits, and I pray that you feel more accepted, perhaps we could say in that way. Um, I pray that you feel maybe less alone. I pray that you feel uh, respected, the most important one ever. I pray that you feel respected. I pray that you feel respected in context of life. That this other person on this video that translates to you. And like I said earlier with Mr. Larry Hagner, I'm not yet married, don't have kids yet, but I certainly do want children. And I'm honored to say thank you to all of the people that who have children. In context of it being the same place that I'm going to have kids. How about that one? That's a good one. But anyways, yes. But yeah, so there's a lot, that we share today on Spiritual Ed about fatherhood with Mr. Larry Hagner and myself. And yeah, I would say that in that kind of way that there's a something that I've said a lot is I mentioned, the foundational aspect of life in that kind of way, that every human being has a need, or a craving in them, simply of foundation, of stability. And that, I guess, of course, in context of life, we understand that is so important for us to resonate with. And unfortunately, some people who have gotten divorced, would say, do that first. Do it first. So in that kind of way, why not, right? Resonate. Allow yourself to resonate with that truth. That every human being, it's not me, you're not special. Every human being has that need of foundation / stability / certainty. So in that kind of way, that basically that this like I said earlier, we're part of, it's for everybody to know that you're connected, to all life, and that it's in that way we're part of everything. But the whole truth is, right, for everybody is we crave foundation, we crave stability, and that it's okay for you to just simply be alive, and that you don't have to do that marriage right now. Because it is a do, it's an act, it's a choice, and it's a permanent. Right? So you let yourself be. And you let yourself be at that place of reverence. The I guess the best would be if you started to become grateful for yourself alone, right, in your room. And then, okay, I don't have to get married this second, right? And you let that go. And you allow yourself to kind of get used to having your own, what I mentioned earlier, being grounded and founded, right, on your own. So grounded, meaning that I'm not up in the air, I'm here on the earth, I'm able to, to we could say physically and or otherwise navigate. And then founded is kind of like a purpose driven thing, being in that place of self your own viewpoint, yeah, being able to realize for yourself, I guess, would be the thing. Self-purpose, self-love, right? And then in that way, that wait, okay, so and then this other person might be for me. It's okay, you know, and it's okay to make that dumb face. They might be for me, you know, and kind of be there and be with yourself and have the experience and enjoy every inch of it. It's fine. So, and then I guess in that kind of way, then the rest of it is up to you, like my shirt, like in the sense. And my prayer is that your life can become, you know, seriously more colorful, you know, like my shirt. And I guess in that way, another thing that's for everybody is hope. You know, hope that you'll notice, and this is another point that psychologists would understand, that if you listen to Dr. Joe's advice, you know, I imagine like a girl in like college or something like that, and she's maybe not quite there yet with it being grounded and founded. And in that kind of way, that you allowing yourself, you know, to be established first, seriously, in that kind of way, is what perpetuates hope. You know, that it's what makes hope there, because hope can't not be authentic. That, you know, we can't. It's not a possible thing. So in that kind of way, for sure, and understanding that it's okay to look to other couples, even if it's just one of them. It's okay, you know, to look to other couples, you know, and say, I'm just staring at you, you know, even if it feels like you're staring through their front window into their living room, you know, just letting yourself be there and be alive and have this beautiful experience of life and growth with an entirely different people, you know, and that basically that you're there and they're there and you're different people forever. And then you can, you know, look to, you know, accepting what makes you happy. It's a big part of life, you know. But anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. And there's been a whole lot of education in here. And I'm very, very grateful for Mr. Larry Hagner and his book, The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood, his sixth one, surely available on the internet. And I have two books. Well, I have 4 books that are done and 3 more on the way, but only 1 printed right now. If you go to my website, everybody, joevertino.org, scroll down, there is a 18-minute video of my first book called My Own Religion, The Power of Love. And it is a manifesto broken down into 46 topics ranging from death, sexuality, being in love, relationships, healing, music, honor, suicide, the power of being weird, clarity on organized religion, spiritual entities, all kinds of wonderful things. There was one called The 3 Jewels, all kinds of wonderful, relevant things for everybody. And I highly recommend it. It's 266 physical paperback pages available and will show up at your door, orderable from Amazon. And then right now, hopefully within the next couple months, and right now it is almost the beginning of fall in 2005 here in Buffalo, New York. And I have the second book, The Reform of the Education System, being finalized, and hopefully that will be printed by mid-October, hopefully. And then I have The Nothingness of Love, a Buddhist book of poetry. And I also have The Reiki Bible, a guide to Reiki living. And I'm writing another one that hopefully will come out called My Work in Business as a Spiritual Guide. So that's that one. And then what else? I have another Reform of the Education System book too. But I work with people one-on-one. I do Reiki and I do spiritual guidance, which the whole point of spiritual guidance, my fellow humans is to come into more and more a place of meditative awareness. That's all that spiritual guidance is really about. So how's that for simple and non-judgmental? A very, very important thing, especially in context of our podcast on fatherhood and all of the things that are connected with that inextricably, meaning relationships and marriage and children. So yeah, we kind of went with that in this video. And thank you so much for, I even want to say, for that figure known as Jesus's father, Saint Joseph. What a wonderful way to end this video with the proper perspective. How lovely. I love you. And thank you for Archangel Raphael, the medicine of God, and that always unto eternity is it appropriate gentleness inside the existence of fatherhood. Always. Anyways, much love and respect. Thank you so much for tuning in. Podcast, guided meditation, books, music, spiritual guidance, career alignment, artistic alignment, and relationship alignment. I do, and help with those skills on my website. And it's all personal and confidential work. And I am looking for any and all opportunities at all. Meaning, like, if it's a retreat center, if you're watching this and you say, hey, we have a weekend, maybe you can come out and do a guided meditation stuff. Sure. In that kind of way or what have you, please at least take a look at the website. It's wonderful. Just like you. All right. Thank you so much. And there's tons more podcasts on my website also. Hours and hours of it. And once again, thank you to Mr. Larry Hagner and his neighborhood for not throwing rocks through his window so we could film at least about 25 minutes of him on screen. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Kitty.